The other team I think will figure its way out is Cincinnati. But it is interesting. I watched the Cowboys. I watched the second half, all the second half Cowboys and the Bengals. And the Super Bowl hangover appears to be real. Historically, the team that loses the Super Bowl goes into the tank. Now, I said I don't think that's going to happen with Cincinnati. I think they have a great quarterback, great weapons, and that's the league in 2022. But why are they struggling? Number one, they spent a lot of money on a bad O-line, and the O-line's still bad because Joe Burrow didn't practice or play with it. So they're trying to figure themselves out. I do think they figured out a lot of what they need to do in the second half. But is it possible the Bengals are just this fun, young, lightning in a bottle, let it rip, spunky team for 1 year? Well, that's what the Carolina Panthers were with Cam. They were great for 1 year and lost in the Super Bowl. That's what the Dirty Birds were in Atlanta in the late 90s, and they got to a Super Bowl and lost. And Carolina was never the same, and Atlanta was never the same. We have to be honest about the Bengals. They were 7-6 last year and turnover prone before Joe Burrow became the hottest player in the league. The second thing is when they got to the playoffs, they got a break. They got to face the Raiders, who had been in multiple emotional games. And the other thing is they got to face Kansas City after that Buffalo game, which was the game of the decade in the NFL. So Kansas City comes out of the craziest game in all those players' lives. They come down a little bit, and they were vulnerable, and Mahomes had a really bad half of football. That doesn't happen much. So is Cincinnati just a one-year phenomenon? I do not believe so. I think it's all tied to Burrow not playing in the preseason, all new offensive line. He hasn't practiced with him. I thought the second half yesterday, you saw glimpses of what I think they are. But you can't. It's very hard in this league to win consistently. If you're in a good division, in a better conference, the AFC, with a bad O-line, and you're playing from behind all the time. That is hard. Kansas City, as good as they are, they got one Super Bowl win. You know, it's hard to play from behind. That's with Andy Reid, a good O-line, and Mahomes. It is hard. And so Cincinnati doesn't have Andy Reid. They don't have Mahomes. They don't have that offensive line yet. So I think Cincinnati figures it out. By the way, time of possession, Cincinnati dominated it. First downs, got almost 20. Third down efficiency, not terrible. They were 1 for 1 in the red zone. They didn't have that many penalties. They had 7. That's okay. It's again, there's a lot of things in the box score you look at. Red zone, they were 1 for 1. Dominate time of possession. Move the football. Didn't turn it over. I think this is tied to Burrow's inactivity and the O-line brand new. I think they figured it out. But this league is unforgiving, man. You can have great players everywhere. It is totally unforgiving.